Hey there and welcome to a new episode. Today we're going to do our first review and we're going to be speaking about the Contax 167MT and why it's been one of my favorite cameras I've owned in the nearly 10 years I've been shooting film so far. I think what initially drew me to this camera was the fact that I owned the Contax G1, G2 and T2 already, and I sold all of these premium Contax cameras after only using them for a couple of months or even less. And I think the main reason why I sold these was just a personal preference shooting style, because I don't really like shooting autofocus most of the time, and especially the autofocus back in the 80s and 90s was not as good as we are used to on digital cameras nowadays, and so they were a bit slower, and I used to shoot more street photography. So with the G1 and G2 I always had a bit of a problem with getting the autofocus quick enough while shooting street. And then I bought the T2 just recently, where you can find a video up here shooting with it in the streets of Vienna, and I sold it as well, mainly I think because I didn't really like the autofocus. So one of the first film cameras I ever bought was a Canon A1, and it has been one of my favorite cameras so far, and I think I've already owned this camera 3 times as well. Always sold it, trying out different things. You know how these things go in the film world. So when I initially bought the Canon A1, it was just a simple solid body with a 50mm 1.8 Canon lens on it. It's like a typical setup you find these cameras in. You can get them fairly cheap, they are solid and they deliver quality. With this thing though, I kind of wanted something similar. I was heading to Berlin and I didn't want to bring my medium format camera, so I was just browsing around the local camera stores. And I was looking for something under 300 euros, which is small and compact, manual mode compatible, manual focus compatible, and just something you can throw in your bag all the time, which never disappoints you. And I found a real gem of a camera. I haven't heard anything about the Contax 167MT before I bought it. I knew a little bit about the RTS series, the more professional ones. I just saw that it had a size T lens 50mm 1.4 on it, and the price including the lens and a little flash was I think around 260 euros. And I just took it, left and went to Berlin with it and took some snaps, some portraits, and I came back and I was blown away with the images. The quality, even if you shoot wide open, it's crazily sharp, it holds the edges, it's just a superb camera if you ask me. It has a lot of features if you want that, but I'm typically someone who's either shooting fully manual or maybe use the aperture priority mode if you want. To adjust those, you're gonna press mode and hold it, and then you use this piece of plastic over here and you can go through the different kind of modes. So we have aperture priority, manual mode, program high, program low, whatever that is, and exposure priority mode. Another thing which may come in handy, it has a continuous focus mode, and I read it was the first camera who could do like auto bracketing, which means you can set it in a certain mode and it shoots 3 different kind of exposures. So one a little bit underexposed, one like well exposed, and one a bit overexposed, and then you can choose the one you would like in post. So I think back in the day this is a feature which was probably quite handy. And yeah, one thing I really care about cameras, and I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I still kind of get a hack out of it if the shutter sound is good, or if I like the shutter sound, like with a Mamiya RC for example, or any other medium, most of other medium format SLRs, the shutter sounds like a cannon exploding, like you're shooting off a rifle, and I really like that. It has some tactile feeling to it. With this one it's a bit more 80s techy kind of sounding, but I still really like the sound of it, and I can give you a little taste of it now. Did you hear? it sounds kind of nice and satisfying. Anyway, I kind of like it. Another nice feature is the auto winder, although I really like to wind manually because it's kind of a comforting tactile thing to do. The auto winder on this one is actually super nice as well, especially if you shoot portraits in the studio and it kind of has to go fast. You want to shoot quite a lot of images. It just comes in handy to have the auto winder, and this is a feature I've really come to enjoy, and I didn't really knew that I really wanted it, but it was built in the camera and I really like it. Apart from that, this camera was developed in 1986 and probably sold from there on out. I don't really know actually, and I don't really care. I've read somewhere that some of these cameras were designed by Ferdinand Porsche from Porsche Automobile Company. Design-wise, I think they look cool, but I'm not sure they look fancier than any other cameras from this time period. I really like the solidness of the body. It's I've always enjoyed cameras. You can just throw it in the bag and don't have to worry about it, anything getting broken. Just some reliable piece of equipment. I've also read somewhere that the Carl Zeiss 50mm 1.4 T lens is among the best 35mm lenses out there. They even comparing it, who's they? I don't know. Anyway, somebody who's proclaiming that they know shit is even comparing these lenses with the Sumilux or Summicron Leica lenses. And just what I've seen with the images I took with it, I was blown away by the quality. And to speak no further, I think I will just show you some images I took in Berlin and then some images I took in the studio with it. And I'm pretty sure, I never want to say for certain because I'm a bit of a slut when it comes to buying and selling cameras, but I really want to keep this one. It's really good, and I've totally enjoyed shooting with it, and I'm pretty sure you would too. It's not really hard to find. My friends over at Safelite Cameras in Berlin, for example, they always have a couple of those in stocks, and I guess even in the States or somewhere else they're quite easy to find. And the price range of these is just very good all-round camera, even for beginners and professionals alike. So, without further ado, here are some images I shot with it. So thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this camera. It was my first camera review I ever did, so please leave some suggestions or comments down below of what you want to hear more of in the future, or if you want to hear more reviews by me. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more of my work, I will link my Instagram and my website down below. And so if you want to see more videos of what I shot with this camera so far, I will link it here or somewhere. I'm just still figuring out how this YouTube thing works. Anyway, there's one video I shot this camera in Berlin and one video where I shot this camera in the studio shooting models and portraits. And you will find it somewhere, I hope so. So I will stop babbling, and please don't forget to subscribe and like if you like this episode and this channel, and if you want to see more of it in the future. Thank you. Bye bye.